Hello Year 8, welcome back to your theme layers and we're looking at textiles. We've done as much as we can with our Day of the Dead textiles piece now, which was looking in the main at different applique techniques, different sewing techniques. You should have looked at all kinds of different embroidery sewing techniques, and now we're going to be looking at a different area of textiles known as printed textiles. The theme is still layers, but we're now going to incorporate some healthy eating into our theme as well. So there will be some preparation needed for this lesson today. You can see that I've got on my plate, I've got half a sweet pepper, I've got a slice of orange, one of the large oranges, and I've got a strawberry cut in half. I've also got for today's lesson a pencil, fine liner pen, I've got a paintbrush, I've got a rubber, I've got over here some water, a sharpener because we're doing a lot of line work today, so you'll need to make sure your pencil stays nice and sharp. And I've also got some tissue that I'm going to use when I'm using my brush and my water. Right, you will need a bit of time now to go and get what you need. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil. You will also need somebody to cut your fruit and vegetables for you. So you'll need somebody available to slice the orange or cut the pepper, or whatever it is you're going to use. I've actually got a list of things that you could use for today's lesson. So if you've got any of these at home, grapefruit's good. Obviously I've used orange and sweet pepper and strawberry. Tomato, lots of lovely detail if you cut a tomato in half. Onion cut in half. Garlic bulbs, if you cut across the garlic bulb so you can see all the individual bits of garlic inside. And then more complex, something like a cabbage or a sprout, again cut down the middle so that you can see all the detail inside. Right, I'm going to give you a little while to pause this now then and go and get what you need for today's lesson. Right, techniques that we're going to be using today to start us off and to get us drawing again, because we did quite a lot of collage recently and we need to be doing some drawing at the start of this project, and we're going to use the continuous line technique to start us off. I've done some work directly onto my sketchbook, which I'll show you in a minute, but you might want to work onto some of the loose cartridge paper that you've got, and then when you've got pieces that you're happy with, we can photograph those so that teachers can see what you've done, and you can also then bring those into school and they can be stuck into your sketchbook. Right, continuous line drawing means that we're going to keep our pencil on the page the whole time that we're creating our drawing. So I'm going to have a look at doing my sweet pepper. Just going to move that across a little. And you should be able to see the pepper that I'm drawing there. And I'm going to start down the bottom section here. Once I start the drawing, just because it's continuous line doesn't mean I have to do it really quickly, but the drawing should flow. So you should just keep your hand on the paper as you're doing the drawing, and it just helps you really focus, because you need to be looking the whole time you're drawing, and really focus on the shape and the form that you're drawing. So I'm going to start down the bottom here, and that starts to bulge outwards as it comes up towards the top of the pepper, curves up here, and then comes back down. I've then got that green section at the base of the stalk before I start to go up onto the stalk itself, which comes up here, curves towards the end. I've got a little extra bit there, so I'm going to loop around that bit, and then I'm going to start to head back down the stalk on the other side. And as I get closer to the main part of the pepper, it goes into a sort of triangular shape here. There's another little bulge in the green before I come back onto the pepper, and then I can follow that shape down here. It comes together towards the bottom, and joins back together down here. Now I'm going to trace back up that line because I want to add some of the thickness now to the side of the pepper that I can see from where I'm sitting. So I'm going to go back up now and follow around the edge of the pepper. I've got that triangular shape again coming in at the base of the stalk, and that'll take me over to the other side where I can add thickness to this side of the pepper. As I come up the middle here, I can head up that direction, and then I get to the section where I've got my seeds. So I'm just going to add some of those on just by looping my pencil around. And some of them look round, some of them you're looking from the side of the seed so they don't look as round. And then I've got this section that comes down here. And back to the middle. Okay, now I can go back up here and I can start to go this direction and do the seeds on the other side. Again, just by looping the pencil around to draw the detail. I've got a seed in between there, so I'm just going to follow that line back down to there. And then I've got a last few seeds up here before I get up to that section. Right, I've got another triangular bit in there. And then I've got a bit that's darker yellow there, so I'm just going to follow that around. And then I've got a section of shadow in here. And then I'm just going to follow that darker yellow back down here. Okay, do I need to put any more on here? I think that's probably got most of my detail that I need onto my pepper. Right, so what we're going to do next with that continuous line drawing, if you're happy with it, if you're not, I'd like you to try again and have another go. You can have as many goes at doing this as you like until you're happy with the drawing that you've produced. I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to go over my lines. Do this carefully, so don't create a whole new drawing, just go over what you've already got. And some of the seeds in there are actually dark, so I'm going to make them dark. As I said, now you don't need to be doing continuous line at this stage with the pen, you're just going over what you've already produced. Okay. Right, now obviously you need to continue and put ink over all of your drawing. Once you've done that, we're going to look at areas that are darker. So I've got shadow in this section of the pepper, and I've got shadow in here under the seeds. I've got that bit of shadow up there. I've got some reflections up here, so I'm going to go around and just draw outlines for those reflections. And I'm going to use my pen now to add some extra ink into those darker sections. So down here, where I can see there's shadow, I'm going to add some ink in. Now you can add it in as solid ink. So the same way that you might use a pencil to add shading. I can use hatching, which is straight lines running roughly parallel to each other. And I can use cross hatching, so I use lines going across the hatching marks I've already made. I've got shadow in behind these seeds up here, and I'm going to bring some more solid ink there because that's a very dark shadow, and then I'm just going to bring some hatching across the centre. And a little bit of cross hatching down the side there. Okay, I've got shadow again under my seeds on this side. So I'm going to add some more ink there because I'm going to need that for my pen and wash technique. And I'm just going to put again some cross hatching in and some hatching, depending on how dark I need these sections to go. Now for very light areas, if I just go over the line, what I'm going to do is just drag some of that ink in with a wet brush later to produce a light tone. But where I need my dark areas, I need more ink. In here, there's a dark area, so I'm going to need some more ink in there. And around my reflections are standing out because the sweet pepper around those reflections looks darker. Okay. Now I'm not going to do all of the inking on mine, but obviously you need to, so you need to get your darker areas inked up and you need to go over all of the outlines. Right, using just my clean water and my brush, and I need my tissue for this, I'm just going to wet my brush and I'm going to go into my darkest area first, and I'm just going to start to drag some of that ink to create my shadow in that area. Now if there's too much water on the brush, that's what this tissue is for. I'm just dabbing my brush against the tissue to take some of the excess water out. Now you can see there's still detail in there. I can still see some of my hatching and my cross hatching, but I'm also using that ink to create tone across that whole area. So dragging the ink out again from the darker areas and spreading it across to create an overall area of tone. But you can see as well, and if I wet this again to take some of that excess ink off and just wet the brush, I can drag this out into a lighter tone. So I can still create different grades of tone or different values of tone into that area. Now what I was saying earlier as well about where you have a single line, if you just want a light tone, so for example around here, I can just drag a little bit of ink from that single line so that I'm still creating an area of tone because it's yellow, it's not see-through, but it's a much lighter tone now. Okay. Right, you need to continue working on yours once you've done all of the ink on it, and hopefully you'll end up with something that looks a bit like that, so that you've done your darker tonal areas, you've done your lighter tone areas where you've picked just some of the ink out of the lines with your brush. Right, some of you might only get one of those done in a lesson, so you might get your continuous line drawing done, get that inked up, and use your pen and wash technique. Some of you, however, might find that you're getting on very well with this, and you might want to draw some more different fruits and vegetables using the continuous line technique first, so that you've got quite a few lovely pencil examples, and then just choose one of those that you're going to use the pen and wash technique. Okay, well thank you very much, Year 8. I hope you enjoy making those drawings, and we shall develop those next lesson.